Let's suppose that you went to medical school and you studied and you learned a lot and you trained a lot and you continued to study, continued to learn, continued to train. But there never came a time in your life where you ever treated a sick person. You never in any way applied any of the things that you ever learned. You just studied. Imagine if you went to school to become a school teacher and you studied all about education, how to communicate well with children, all the latest techniques for being able to impart knowledge and to inspire students. But you never had the opportunity to teach a single child. And you spent your whole life learning how to be a great teacher, but you never taught anyone. We could put any profession in, or really any walk of life. Let's say that you're a Christian, and you spend all of your life studying and learning, and studying and learning. But there never comes a time where you teach someone else what you've learned and what you studied. Maybe you might pick up a book like this, like I saw at the Fried Harmon lectureship. 400, it caught me off guard because it's 441 pages. Evangelism Made Simple. There we go. Doesn't seem quite right for 441 pages. It is very good. I'm not being disparaging against it at all. But let's say that you spent a long time studying this book and you perfected every technique and everything in this book so that when you went out to talk to someone, evangelism would be simple. But you never went and you never talked to anyone. As we consider today in our lessons on applying Matthew's gospel to our everyday lives, this morning's is an important one because we find a transition in the midst of Jesus' ministry. He gives the apostles now an opportunity to do what they have seen him do. After all, a time comes in every disciple's life and in his training where it's time for him not to just learn and study and train, learn, study, and train, learn, study, and train, but to do, to teach, to serve, to encourage, to spread the message of the gospel, to care and serve for other people, to do as Jesus did in the midst of his great compassion. And so his apostles have seen him and witnessed all these things. And what you're going to find in this lesson is Jesus is going to say, now I want you to go out and to do what you've just watched me do all over the place. And as we apply this gospel message to us today, we must carry the same conclusion to ourselves. And that is, a lot of our life is going to be very unfruitful if we simply spend all of our time training to do the things we never do, or studying about the principles that we don't ever apply, that we witness the characteristics of Jesus and the things that he did, and we don't do them ourselves. So turn in your Bibles to Matthew chapter 10. We're going to look at the first half of the chapter this morning and the second half tonight. Would you take this, Danny? Okay. Verses 1 through 25. And having summoned his 12 disciples, he gave them authority over unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal every kind of disease and every kind of sickness. Now the names of the 12 apostles were these: the first, Simon, who was called Peter, Andrew his brother, and James the son of Zebedee his brother, and his brother John, Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew the tax gatherer, James the son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, Simon the zealot, and Judas Iscariot, the one who betrayed him. These 12 Jesus sent out after instructing them, saying, do not go in the way of the Gentiles, and do not enter any city of the Samaritans, but rather go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. As you go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers, cast out demons. Freely you received, freely give. Do not acquire gold or silver or copper for your money belts, or a bag for your journey, or even 2 tunics or sandals or a staff, for the worker is worthy of his support. And to whatever city or village you enter, inquire who is worthy in it, and abide there until you go away. And as you enter the house, give it your greeting. And if the house is worthy, let your blessing or greeting of peace come upon it. And if it is not worthy, let your greeting of peace return to you. And whoever does not receive you or heed your words as you go out of the house or that city, shake off the dust of your feet. Truly I say to you, it will be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. Behold, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. Therefore be shrewd as serpents and innocent as doves. Beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the courts and scourge you in their synagogues. You shall even be brought before governors and kings for my sake, as a testimony to them and to the Gentiles. But when they deliver you up, do not become anxious about how or what you will speak, for it shall be given to you in that hour what you are to speak. For it is not you who speak, but it is the Spirit of your Father who speaks in you. Brother will deliver up brother to death, and father his child, and children will raise up against parents and cause them to be put to death. And you will be hated by all on account of my name, but it is the one who has endured to the end who will be saved. For whenever they persecute you in this city, flee to the next. For truly I say to you, you shall not finish going through the cities of Israel until the Son of Man comes. A disciple is not above his teacher, nor a slave above his master. It is enough for the disciple that he become as his teacher, and the slave as his master. If they have called the head of the house Beelzebub, how much more the members of his household? We're going to divide this lesson into 2 parts, 2 main focuses as we apply it. The first is this, and I think this is really a summary of this whole first section. Jesus tells his disciples, freely you have been given, now freely give. You have received much, now it's time to give. You've learned, you've witnessed, you've trained, you've seen all these things that I've done, and now I want you to go out and to do these things. The disciples had witnessed Jesus' ministry, trained by the Master to heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers, and cast out, and now it is their turn. We're going to look at 4 different points under this first idea. The first one is this: a time for learning and a time for action. And as I've already introduced in this lesson, there is a place for study and for training, but it is fruitless to merely study and train, study and train, study and train, study and train, without putting training into practice. May it never be said of us, I studied and trained my whole life, but I never went out from this building of study and worship to do the things that I was trained to do. And so I've written these ideas. The pew must translate to the pavement. And since we don't have pews, the chair of study must translate to the conduct of service. In other words, at what point do we say, I've learned enough now that I can go and do things? It's easy for us to say, well, I need to know a little bit more. You will always feel inadequate, and I will always feel inadequate to present the gospel to other people. That's why the adequacy remains upon the gospel itself and upon Christ, not upon us. Could the message be not too much study, not too much scholarly learning, but instead practical, hands-on kindness? So if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, consider this. Jesus is even going to present here in this text that small things matter. Notice verse 42, which we will look at more deeply tonight. And whoever in the name of a disciple gives to one of these little ones even a cup of cold water to drink, truly I say to you, he shall not lose his reward. So even the small things matter, the things that may not receive a lot of spotlight. But the point is that as we learn and as we grow, that there is an expectation that we will also be people that do, and that we apply the things that we've learned, and that we don't become as one who's spent his whole life studying a profession but never practicing. Even if we do not have the powers of healing, let us smile, support, and love our fellow man, for a smile and a loving spirit goes a long way in helping sick people. If we show we are of a loving and generous disposition, then those around us who do not yet believe may be inspired to think and investigate our motivation and thus come to Jesus through the doors of our loving and cheerfulness. Now, I put this picture up here because I just wanted to make an illustration by these nurses. Doctors go and visit hospitals and they prescribe medication that saves lives. But there are nurses that are there that provide encouragement and love and support. Sometimes when you're in the hospital, the best thing that you can receive is someone who will just stop and give you some attention and talk to you and love on you. A simple thing, a kind thing, a smile. If you look at the list of these initials, we could do a little quiz here. These are the initials of the 12 apostles. Could you name them by looking at these initials? As Jesus here has these as his 12, and they're listed by name here, and these are their initials, I would like for you to make a mental exercise a reality. Write your own name, your own initials here. Because just as Jesus here tells his disciples, it's time now to not just train, but to do. I would like to suggest that we add our names to this list. Yes, we continue to train, but it's time to do. Secondly, he gives them a message about the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven. In verse 10, as you go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It's a wonderful message. It's a message that we have. I used to think that maybe it wasn't a good option when trying to teach someone else the gospel to simply just invite them to come to a worship assembly. But I think maybe I was wrong. Because the message that Jesus tells them is, you need to check out the kingdom of heaven. It's at hand. The kingdom of heaven is an exciting and vibrant message. May we always uphold Christ's glorious church. I would like to encourage you to remove any criticism of the Lord's church from your vocabulary. Never cut down anything about the Lord's church, even if you think it. Deal with it in your heart. Because Christ loves his church. And I would never want to be disparaging against anything that Jesus loves so much. It is a great message. And so as the apostles go out to do, they're given a message. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. The apostles are to say the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It is here and now. It is not only eternal life after death in God's eternity. It is also a practical life lived in God's church here and now. It is a continuum of service, love, and openness which after the moment of death is increased to the next level without interruption. Number 3, God will provide. The reason this is so important is because we often feel so inadequate when given a task to do. And as Jesus sends out the 12, he says, don't prepare so much. Don't take a lot of money. Don't take a lot of clothes. Just go. I'm going to take care of you. Man, that's a faith request. Do not acquire gold or silver or copper or your money belt or a bag for your journey or even 2 coats or sandals or a staff, for the worker is worthy of his support. I'm going to take care of you. Consider this. Jesus' commission distinctly promotes utmost dependency on God. In fact, it is an audacious trust that must accompany those who are doing the Lord's work. If we wait until we think we've dotted every I and crossed every T, we may find we never left the church building. If we wonder if we have every single thing we need in our kit of tools or in our suitcase, we may never leave our own driveway. God's going to take care of us. And so he tells the disciples, don't worry so much about it. I will provide. Number 4, this section on the blessing of peace is pretty intriguing. I like it. Here's the way I'm going to apply it for us. In verse 13, if the house is worthy, give it your blessing of peace. But if it is not worthy, take back your blessing of peace. The way that I think of this is that God not only says, I will provide, but he says, I'm going to take care of the results. If people accept you, great. I'll take care of that. If people reject you, I'll take care of that. Lay your peace upon a family that is accepting, and remove your peace from those who reject. But in the end, I will take care of things. If the Christian message is not received, just move on, remove your blessing of peace, and let God handle the rest. Ours is not the job of cursing and condemnation. God will judge. Now, this is hard sometimes because when people reject the gospel, we often feel personally rejected. And in those moments, remove your peace and let God handle it. Freely you have received, freely give. The second major message that's given in this section is this. You will be sheep in the midst of wolves. Things get pretty serious at this point, because sheep in the midst of wolves is not a nice mixture. And there are 4 different ideas here as well. The first is this. Be shrewd as serpents and innocent as doves. Now, as I often do, I wanted to try to do a little version comparison here. So I have the New American Standard Bible, the King James, ESV, the Holman, and the Message. And I've circled, too, that are my favorite words that are given of the different translations. I don't know why that I don't like the word shrewd so much. I understand it. But to me, being shrewd sounds rather manipulative. And I don't believe we're manipulative with the gospel. So I like the idea of being wise. And the ESV and the King James have chosen those words in translating this Greek word. So when we are in the world, we are to be wise, shrewd, okay? Eyes opened, alert. The other word that is given is innocent or harmless. I really like both of those. The Message says inoffensive. It's okay too. But of all these choices, I like the word innocent the best because when I think of a dove, that's what I think of. It's innocent. It's harmless, inoffensive. Be in the world. Be smart. Be wise. Look for opportunities. Avoid danger if you need to. But also be innocent. Consider that the Christian's armament is wisdom and innocent. Open eyes and harmless love, they are unbeatable weapons. Secondly, Jesus warns them about opposition and tells them that as you go, understand that persecution will come, and the persecution may be very close to home. It may be very personal, but be persistent. Here, Jesus underlines that dreadful things may happen. Families may be split. A brother may be betrayed. A parent may denounce his own child. The meaning is that we must be prepared to give up everything for the sake of God, and that's going to be tonight's lesson. But consider these things that are given in this passage. Let's go to the next slide. Lawsuits, beatings, betrayal in families, public scorn, hatred, and persecution. All these things may come to those who stop just training and start doing. You will be hated by all because of my name, but it is the one who has endured to the end who will be saved. But whenever they persecute you in one city, flee to the next, for truly I say to you, you will not finish going through the cities of Israel until the Son of Man comes. So when persecution comes, we want to quit. We take it personally. But then we check ourselves, and we realize that God will provide, that God will handle the results. I'll simply remove my peace, and I won't quit, but I'll keep going to the next city. And then we have the same message that we had in the earlier part of this lesson, and that is that ultimately, bottom line, God will provide. Even when persecution comes, even when families are split apart because of Christianity, God will provide support then too. When they hand you over, do not worry about how or what you are to say, for it will be given to you in that hour what you are to say. That takes a lot of pressure off of them, doesn't it? And so similarly to the earlier point, audacious trust must accompany those who are doing the Lord's work. Jesus doesn't tell them, you're going to be popular when you go out and everyone's going to love you. They're going to flock to you. And that happened sometimes. But sometimes they were hated and they caused family division and they were persecuted and they were beaten and some were put to death. But in the midst of all this, the Christian who continues to work has as his armament wisdom and innocence in the world. Finally, number 4. This is my favorite one. Jesus says, if you do this, you're going to be like me. I'm the head of the household. If they rejected me, they'll reject you. They loved me, some will love you. It is enough. Look, listen to this. It is enough for the disciple that he become like his teacher. What a brilliant thought that is. That's enough for us. Is that we do this to be like him. They will be mirroring exactly what Jesus did. Healing the sick, raising the dead, casting out demons. Freely you've been given. Give freely. And no matter what the results are, you trust in me, but bottom line, it's enough that you just become like me. And that's what they did for me. If they called the head of the household Beelzebub, how much more will they malign the members of his household? It's a familial lesson. It's an intimate message. We're a part of Christ's house. And it is enough that we become like him. Since some malign the leader of the family, we must expect they will also malign the members of his family. We need God's help to be strong to withstand the persecution that's certainly to come our way. But bottom line, it's enough that we disciples become like our teacher. Freely you received, freely give. We've been sufficiently trained. It's time to do. Go, trust, and do. Sheep in the midst of wolves may be before us. Audacious trust combined with wisdom and innocence that is our armament. Go, trust, and do. Let's stand together for this invitation song. If you'd like to come, please respond.